Hello. Today I will be featuring a ship that many have been requesting from me. That's the tier 8 Russian cruiser, the Chapayev. And I haven't actually touched this much since they removed stealth fire, so I thought this would be quite an interesting ship to pick up again. Now, I am playing on my EU alt, formerly known as UMALF. Now I renamed it to Gringo Potato ages ago. And the matchmaking isn't exactly being kind to me. The enemy has like what, 6 tier 10s, a bunch of tier 9s, and well, one of like 3 tier 8s. So very brutal matchmaking to begin with. Another issue is that since I bought this for my alt account, since I was playing my alt when someone requested I play it, I realized, well, I haven't actually unlocked the full ship yet. So I'm running the stock Chapayev here. I think the only upgrade I have is like the range upgrade, so at least the range is 17.3, but the stock hull means that I have no radar, because you can only slot the very important Russian radar on the upgraded hull, and of course I only have a 32k HP, which actually makes this ship significantly squishier than the Cleveland. I also lack the improved rudder shift and of course the improved anti-air that come with the hull upgrade. So I know from the get-go this is going to be quite a challenging game, and of course you can no longer stealth fire either, so the options are quite limited. But that's okay, there's situations like this can always be worked around. What exactly are the strengths of the Chapayev? Well, first of all, it's quite stealthy for a tier 8 cruiser. It's not the top most stealthy, but it is very stealthy for one, and I use this stealth to go as close to B as I dare to back up my Benson. In case any enemy DDs showed up and tried to contest my Benson, I would be there to be able to pick some fights and shoot and harass them. Second of all, the arcs. These are Russian cruiser arcs, which means that they are quite flat, and shooting this Friedrich Grosse at 17 km, which is pretty much the edge of the range, is honestly quite easy. You can see every volley is landing what, 67 hits, and the guns are only, I think, what, 155, 152. It doesn't really matter in this case, because I am naturally using IFHE, which greatly benefits any guns that are between 150 and 155. If you wonder why this is the case, then watch my IFHE commentary or IFHE guide, but the short story is that it allows you to penetrate certain thresholds of armor that you could normally not penetrate. I am being spotted here, which is very annoying to me, because that means that the DD has flanked around our south. Somewhere, the only way I could be spotted with this Minotaur smoke here at the island is that someone has flanked around the west side and is right now pretty much behind us and is spotting us from there. So that is very annoying. I'm feeling it's not over there, it's got to be actually behind us, so that's pretty annoying. Because I was hoping to sit behind this island and shoot this guy, but that's completely impossible because of this DD. He launches his torps, which lets me know exactly where he is. I've stopped firing, so I know he's very, very close. And considering we saw the gearing at this other cap, it's the IGN DD. I think they had a Yugoma. So Yugoma or Kagero that's trying to flank us. So that kind of ruined my position. I had such a great position there. I could shoot from cover. I was unspotted, everything was going great, and then the DD showed up and pretty much ruined my defensive position. The reason why, of course, I wanted to use that position was the Chapayev isn't really tanky or agile enough to be able to fire in the open that comfortably. Like something like a Kabar that can sail around and use its speed to dodge shells and constantly shoot behind it. The Chapayev can kinda do that, but it's nowhere near as good. And that's mostly because, well, the Citadel is massive, the armor is paper thin, and I'm facing tier 10s here, so they can kind of melt me pretty damn easily, especially the battleships. And with the stock hull of 32k HP, it doesn't take many Citadels to delete me. So I'm running around looking for positions. I find my next position, which is behind the Shimakaze smoke. The Shima smoke's up near the capture point, so I park right behind the smoke and I use this position to my advantage. And this is something you kind of want to do, just look around for positions where you can either shoot from stealth, like I'm doing here, kind of make it feel like the old Chapayev that could stealth fire. Or you can use terrain, you can use friendly smokes, you can use all of these things to try to find this position. Alternatively, if you can't find any position at all where you can fire from stealth, try to isolate the target, meaning angle against everything else besides the target you're shooting at. So in this case, I would take an even sharper angle and angle against the grosse Kurfürst and just give the slightest amount of broadside to the Yamato that I am firing at. And if he shot at me, I would of course instantly dodge and keep on the move. The Shimakaze smoke, I don't know how long it's going to be lasting here. I'm trying to milk everything out of it now. I am using the spotter plane, not really to increase my range here, because well, that guy was still in my range, but just to make it easier to hit him since he's behind the island. The reason I can't even slot the spotter plane is of course because stock hull, no radar, so might as well make use of the spotter plane while we have it. And the spotter plane isn't necessarily that bad of a tool for the Chapayev, but of course once you get radar you should absolutely slot the radar instead. The radar is so much more useful. But I mean, in terms of dealing with the cards you're dealt, having the spotter plane isn't that bad on the Chapayev. I am spotted now, so I keep a constant eye on my detection. Of course, priority target is something I highly recommend on all cruisers, but especially these squishy ones. So I'm keeping a constant eye out on if any numbers start popping up on the detected sign, then you're gonna see me start evading very heavily. Surprisingly, Missouri eats those torps. I thought they were spotted a while ago. And but I pick a fight with the Des Moines. At these ranges, the Des Moines struggles to hit me. I mean, yes, he will be able to hit me, but if I start speeding up and avoiding, he's not going to have an easy time because, well, the Des Moines has very lazy shells. Thanks to IFHE, I am quite consistently penetrating him with the HE shells and doing very consistent damage to him. And I actually get a fire as well, which is of course great. All the damage I can get on him helps our team at this point. Because I think, is he picking a shooting or... no, he's shooting our Ibuki. Now we see a real problem though. Amagi, Yamato and all of these are pushing up this flank. So once again I look for that good position where I'm not being shot at. You see I'm targeted here, so I'm instantly speeding up, I'm angling away. I use my torpedoes to estimate their speeds, not to actually launch them. You only have 4 km torps, only the Kutuzov gets the 8 km ones. So I try to estimate their speeds to land these shells. And if I see any shells coming my way, I would of course be dodging away. But in general, I'm trying to look for a sweet spot here behind the islands. The gearing is currently spotting me, which is annoying. The gearing inside C is spotting me, so I can't stop here. I'm trying to find a good position. As long as he's not pointing his guns at me, I can use this. But now he smokes up. Either the gearing smoked up or he left the C cap altogether. Either way, that means I am now unspotted and I can just completely park here without any worries, without having to constantly stress and keep an eye out on the turrets. Both Amagi and Yamato are of course great targets for me. In general, I tend to put one fire on each target. I put a fire on one of the ships and then I switch to the other battleship and put a fire on him, and then whichever battleship repairs becomes my primary target, because if he's repaired it, that means his damage gun is on cooldown, which means getting multiple fires will result in a lot of damage and basically reward me greatly and punish him greatly. The Amagi has a fire, but he's fleeing out of my range. You see he's already fleeing all the way back. The game is actually quite close, even though we got a points lead, because they've already sunk 3 of our battleships. So we only have 2 left to their 4, which can be a big deal, especially in random battles. I do, however, find a good spot to harass this Yamato. He's behind 2 islands, or actually I think 3 islands here. But I'm able to lob the shells over to him, and because they no longer have anyone in sea, and I'm still keeping these islands between me and all my enemies, I'm continually undetected. So even though stealth fire was removed, and you can no longer stealth fire in the ship, it doesn't mean that there aren't other ways you can shoot your targets from stealth. I am detected here, but I think it's one of the battleships in the back, so I move further behind islands, and you can see I'm undetected again, which is exactly what I wanted. I think it was the Eugen that briefly spotted me. I am slowing down once again because the Amagi has moved into my range. I can no longer shoot the Yamato, but the Amagi has moved back into my range. So I fully stop again, and I'm going to start reversing here to try and keep these islands between me and the Amagi for as long as possible, because they are my stealth firing tool. They are what I'm using to be able to harass these guys. So In general, has the playstyle of the Chapayev changed? Well, yes and no. Yes, it has changed in the fact that you can no longer stealth fire anywhere on the ocean. You have to pick your positions. But the basic tool of being a heavy damage dealer, like long range HE spammer with very flat arcs, that still exists. And as long as that exists, you can still use your terrain to your advantage. And of course, the ship benefits greatly from high FHE, as you can see here. So this type of playstyle is perfectly viable. However, the Yamato is now pushing up, and I can no longer stay here, because if I get spotted sitting still, I'm guaranteed dead. So before he rounds this corner, I'm just accelerating and I'm getting the hell out of here. You never want to get caught sitting still in this ship. That makes you so easy to kill. Now that I'm up to full speed, now I'm going to start shooting him. Because at full speed, you are okay at dodging. Once again, stock hull, no improved rudder shift, not exactly the most optimal of situations. But I am sailing straight away, and the one thing that Chapayev still has is pretty damn good firing angles. In fact, if you look at lower left, you can see just how angled my ship is when I'm shooting backwards. I'm able to shoot all 4 turrets from this angle, and that's one of the great strengths. This ship is excellent at kiting, and of course the further away I get, the safer it is to me, because I have a lot more time to evade their shells. Their dispersion is much more affected by the increased distance. So, and every time they shoot, I naturally turn away to make myself an even smaller profile. Yeah, he gets some hits, but once again, at that range, at that range and against as angled as I am, it requires a lot of good luck on their sides and a lot of bad luck on mine for them to be able to land any consistent damage on me. And yeah, I think the Yamato was going to burn to death because I had 2 fires he couldn't repair on him. Grossekorfos secondaries stole that kill though, sadly. Considering how much work I had done, that's a bit of a shame. But this Amagi can't repair either, so I'm just going to keep harassing him. And at this point, I've already gained so much distance, and I feel confident enough that I can probably start turning around and take the fight to them. But you know, playing it safe. I got the range. One of the strengths of this ship is the range. 17.3 km on a tier 8 cruiser is pretty fantastic, considering things like Atago has what? 15 point something, so very comfortable range. I don't get the kill on the Amagi because the Grossekorfos takes him as well. The Eugen crashes into his wreck, or rams into his wreck. I should be able to finish off at least the Eugen, so at least get 1 kill this game, as this should be just a shooting gallery as he is grounded. But then I look at the score and I realize I don't even have time to finish him, because the game sadly ends here. So damn, so much for those hopes. Still though, when we look at the victory screen, 208,000 damage in a stock Chapayev against tier 10 matchmaking. So pretty damn solid game in that sense. And looking at the team score, well, the Minotaur got a cap. He solo capped one of their caps and he got the gearing kill. So he's going to top the score. But even with that, if some of those final kills hadn't been kill stolen from me, I would have gotten enough XP to top the scoreboard. So considering my situation, tier 8 stock versus tier 10 matchmaking, I consider this a pretty good result. Detailed report wise, the only hits I took were really towards the end when I started kiting away. And damage wise, 83k direct HE damage and a double witherer worth of fires. Why did I get so much fire damage? Was it just super lucky RNG? No. First of all, I was shooting the entire time. 762 shells fired, and I landed 245 of them. The Kutuzov, just like this ship, is of course a great fire starter. So that's not the only reason. The reason is I was able to be in positions where I kept shooting targets even after they had used the repairs. And any fires after they've used the repairs means a lot of damage. So ultimately, 30-minute game, broke 200k. Very satisfying to me. I will of course return to the ship once I get my hull upgrade. I can show you my recommended build for the ship now though. Right, starting off, we of course have the modules. Now the first thing you want to choose is the range, because the default range of 15.8 is just so stifling and makes it so hard to play this ship. Once you have the range upgrade, you obviously get the hull upgrade. Consumable wise, premium repair and premium radar. Once you actually have the B hull, then you will be able to select the radar, which is far better than the spotter plane. Premium defensive AA if you can afford it, because your anti-air is quite good, at least when you get the hull upgrade. It is quite good. Anyway, upgrade wise, main armaments mod 1, that's the first one. AA range, because well, things like main battery mod and well, honestly all the other ones are pretty useless for a cruiser. Damage control system 1, because you don't really lose engine or rudder much. Faster rudder shift, especially on the stock Chapayev, since you only have 10.8 second rudder shift. But even when you have the upgraded hull, you'll still want that rudder shift to take it down to 7.7. And finally, of course, concealment, to get the fairly comfortable 10.2 km concealment, which is very competitive at tier 8. Captain perks wise, priority target is absolutely your number 1. Follow it up with adrenaline rush, followed by fire chance, followed by concealment expert, and then for 14 points get IFHE. Ignore last stand, I just have it here because I wanted to use the 2 points on something, since I had a 16 point captain to use. Ultimately at this point, after you've gotten IFHE, I'd probably start saving points for Superintendent, since this is very useful for the tier 8 Chapayev for the radar, but even more so it's very important when you get to the tier 9 and tier 10s, because you'll be wanting to use the additional heal you can get from this, of course, and the additional radar. Alternatively, if you don't care about the additional heal, going for Vigilance is a very strong choice. If you want to focus more on the AA build, then AFT is also a strong choice. In fact, you can look at my Moskva build if you're more interested in the higher tier builds. But in terms of a very basic strong Chapayev 14 point captain, it's priority target, adrenaline rush, demolition expert, concealment expert, and IFHE. And which way you build after this kind of depends on which way you want to go. If you want to make a competitive captain that you can use on the Kutuzov, then you probably go AFT. If you want to make a like random battle farming captain, then you probably keep demolition expert, because you want the additional fire chance. You might even mix in vigilance. If you go for the Moskva, then vigilance might be a really nice one. Perhaps with the radar you might not need as much. Ultimately though, this core build of 14 points is the most important thing. Which way you go after this depends. Keep in mind though, if you plan on going to the Moskva and you want to avoid respecking, then don't get the IFHE, because IFHE is fairly useless, or almost completely useless on the Moskva. It is fairly good on the Donskoy though. This is why you could use this captain also in the tier 9 without any issues. But if you don't want to spend any doubloons respeccing your captain, then IFHE is of course fairly pointless, and something like going straight for AFT would be better, since as I said, the ship does have great anti-air when you upgrade it. Anyway, that was my Chapayev commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will return to this ship once I have the hull upgrade and the ship is a bit stronger than it is right now.